Don't, I repeat, don't ask the prospect if he's got time to speak. This is something that most salespeople who ring me up do. I don't know, it's a matter of, they're even trained to do it. But don't do it. When a salesperson asks you if you've got time to speak, or asks the customer, what do you think the customer's thinking? No, absolutely not. Instantly put up a barrier. Because he thinks you're going to take some of his time. Or maybe he thinks, you know, you're going to be a long time. Well, gee, how long are you going to be? Half an hour, an hour? I mean, what's it going to take? You're only going to be on the phone a few minutes. If he's picked up the phone, then he's in a position to be able to talk to you. Now, there's some grey areas here. Sometimes, of course, he hasn't got time to speak, but if he doesn't have time, he's going to say, I don't have the time to talk to you just at the moment. In which case, that's your opening to make a time to talk to him. When shall I call you back? What about Thursday, or would Friday morning be better? So you can make an appointment to call him. But if he's answered the phone, just presume he has the time. If he doesn't, he'll tell you. Obviously, if you're talking on a cell phone to your customer, that's a different thing. If you ring a customer on his cell phone, then you must, or anybody, you must always ask, if, can they talk at the moment? Do they have time to talk? You never know where they're going to be, do you? I mean, they could be anywhere. You can hear them echoing, the room echoing around wherever they happen to be, you know, and you know it's not the best time to catch them. Or my worst is, I work funny hours, and I don't give out my cell phone number. It's not on my business card any longer, because customers ring me when I'm pretty much off duty. I work very odd hours. I work in the mornings, but most afternoons, if I'm not speaking, most afternoons I take off. I'll spend some time with the family, do the homework, go and watch them play soccer or whatever, or hockey or whatever. Or I'll go and do the shopping. You know, the regulars know that that's my job at home. I do the shopping for the family. So often I'll get phone calls from customers on my cell phone, and I'll be pushing the trolley around Checkers. You know, there we go, around Checkers. The phone rings, so I take the phone out and I'm answering. I'm trying to be professional to the customer. You know, and there's somebody on the intercom telling me that eggs are cheap this week, you know. Doesn't sound very good, does it? So cell phones are a great thing, I must tell you. I think they're great. But be very careful. Please try not to ring your customers on the cell phone unless you've got a good sort of relationship where you can get past that sort of thing. Some companies have to use the cell phones, and that's harder. If on the other hand, if you're on a landline, don't ask the customer if he's got time to speak. Just presume that he has and move on. Don't read your script to the prospect. We're going to be talking about scripts today, because they're very good things. But the worst thing you can ever do with a script is to have it in front of you and read it to the customer or the prospect as you're talking to him. Now, we've all had this experience as well, haven't we? You know, when you get a timeshare salesman or a health and racket club salesperson, you know, and they're saying, Mr. Mulvey, congratulations, you've been chosen from one of 2,000 people to win this wonderful award. And they're going, and you want to interrupt them. They say, no, you can't say anything yet. You're not meant to say anything until down below this paragraph, you know. So don't read the script. Scripts are good things. If you've got a script, or your company has given you a script, they've probably spent a lot of money developing it. Read it, learn it off by heart, then put it to one side. Use it on the telephone because they're good things, but don't be so rigid in it that it makes you sound as though you're a computer. Be flexible with your script in order to respond, because everybody's conversation is different. So, memorize it, put it to one side. Use it, but put it to one side. Keep all statistics as well. You need to measure yourself and how well you're doing. And statistics will give you a clue to that. You need on your table, your desk as you're working, your call report sheet. Your call report sheet should be a standard format that you've designed for yourselves. Should include, as a minimum, should include the name of the person you're ringing, their phone number, their company name, the objective of the call, and at the end a space to tick off when the call has been satisfactorily received. So be very careful. With your call report sheet, be very careful to follow that objective. You've got an objective for each call, tick it off when it's done. And then you will develop statistics. You'll develop all sorts of information. The major information you're going to develop is the number of calls you close compared to the number of calls you make. For instance, let's say that you can make 50 calls in the average day. Now, this really does depend on what you're doing. If you're, sometimes people are employed to make 100 calls a day. Others will only make 20 in a week. So it really does vary. But let's imagine you make 50 calls in a day. And of those 50 calls, you're able to close 5 of them. That means you're able to get to the objective satisfactorily with 5 of them. Now, there's a statistical relationship between the 50 and the 5, which is very important. Anybody know what that's called? Sorry, somebody over here? Percentage. It's a percentage, but what's it called? Your strike rate, absolutely right. Your strike rate or your hit rate. In this case, it would be 10%. You phone 50 people, you close 5 of them, you get a 10% strike rate. Now, your strike rate is a very important figure. It tells you how good you are at what you're doing. It's a measurement of your selling skills. If you sell more, if you apply some of the things we're talking about today into your selling, and you sell more, then your strike rate's going to go up. Instead of calling 50 and closing 5, if you call 50 and close 8, it means you're better at what you're doing. And then your strike rate goes up from 10% to then 16%. And it's a measurement of how well you're doing. You should know your own strike rate. If you don't apply new techniques or new skills, if you do the same job in the same way, your strike rate will probably not vary very much from one month to the next. And that's also a very useful thing to know. Because let's imagine you've got a strike rate of, say, 20%. That means that at every 10 calls, you can close 2 of them. Now, let's say you're having a really bad day. Monday morning, you get up, you go to work, you have a bad day, 8 calls in a row. Your first 8 calls in a row are lousy calls. How do you feel? Lousy. You feel lousy, don't you? You feel dreadful. You feel dreadful. And so that means that the next few calls you're feeling bad, so you're probably not going to have such a good response for the next few either, because you're still feeling bad. But let's imagine you know your strike rate. And you know that 20%, or that 20%, that's 2 in 10, will say yes. Now you know that. How do you feel after making 8 lousy calls? How should you feel now? You should feel good, absolutely right. You should feel good, because you know that the next 2 are going to say yes. Because by the law of averages, it doesn't change. So by the law of averages, the next 2 are going to say yes. But let's say you have 16 lousy calls in a row. You should feel fantastic, because the next 4 are going to say yes. That's the way it works, you see. It's a very simple process, but you're going to have some no's. You're going to have lots of no's. That's the way it works. We know this. And they do make you feel bad, but you should understand that so long as you understand your strike rate and you can measure your own strike rate, you will get lots of yeses as well. So it should make you feel better when you've had a load of no's. So monitor your strike rate. Watch the sort of things you're going to be doing. And make sure you measure how many calls you get right out of the total number of calls that you make. Okay.